In the movie Madagascar, Escape from Africa, Marty is an animated zoo zebra who finds himself on the African plain in a giant zebra herd. Then he suddenly realizes that he looks like every other zebra in the herd. And this leads him into a major identity crisis. You see, if every individual within a population was identical to every other one, life would be pretty boring. I mean, just think of the wonderful uniqueness of our own household pets. But when is variation actually a bad thing? Well, what about things like medicine, airplanes, car brakes, home electricity? Shouldn't these things be produced without variation? So variation is a good thing in certain aspects of life and a bad thing in other aspects of our life. When it comes to manufacturing businesses, industry customers desire a variety of product options, but they expect manufacturing consistency too. You see, in manufacturing, consistency is king. The less product-to-product variation, the better. Tight process controls yield better quality, lower waste, and happier customers. Because of this fact, reducing and controlling process variation is what Six Sigma methodology is all about. But how do we define and measure variation? Well, variation can be measured in two ways. First by range, and second by standard deviation. Range is really easy to understand because it simply represents the highest point in a data set minus the lowest point. Range is a good measurement to use when it's combined with process mean and used as part of a robust statistical process control program. The calculation for standard deviation is a little more complicated, however, but standard deviation would rarely need to be hand calculated. I recommend always using Excel or an online calculator to determine the standard deviation of a data set. Knowing how to calculate a standard deviation is much less important than understanding what it represents and how to analyze it. Standard deviation is a measure of variation or dispersion. The higher the standard deviation, the greater the variation, and the more defects that will be produced. But the lower the standard deviation, the tighter the process controls, and the lower the defect rates. The statistical symbol for standard deviation is the sigma, and that's where the term Six Sigma is derived. Ideally, a process operates with a standard deviation of 0, because then every manufactured part would be identical to every other one, thus providing perfect product quality. But more realistically, a Six Sigma process represents the gold standard of process management, and this should always be our goal. Understanding Six Sigma methodology and how to use it for process improvement, it starts with an understanding of central tendency, standard deviation, and the normal distribution curve. Information on these topics and more is provided in our other T for T videos and in our online training courses. My name is Joe Joyce and I'm with Tools for the Trenches. If you work in manufacturing, then visit us, follow us, and subscribe to thrive.